What's fam? Here we are, time for another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video, and my friends, your favorite youngling slayer, Lord Vader, is finally coming to the holo tables. And what are the requirements gonna be for this audacious youngling slayer? Have no fear, I am here to do my annual, we call this annual, semi-annual now? Probably my semi-annual at this point predictions for the Galactic Legends requirements. And so I am actually going to be going through all of the requirements that we have seen in the history of this game to kind of analyze what we can expect to see with Lord Vader. Of course, we already have some of the requirements and a sneak peek at the round 3 requirements, but I'm going to make my best possible prediction on what that last gig is going to look like. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Now, here's what the first GLs looked like. And so I'm covering up SLKR a little bit with my face here. So why don't we just, boom. Okay, I'm gone. So I'm still here though. So we have got, you guys know all of these right here. Some notable characters in here that I think are important is out of all of these, there are some characters that I think you could make a case could be required for Lord Vader. The biggest one, in my opinion, might be R2-D2. He's going to have a big pull that direction. Palpatine, or Sidious, more like maybe Dooku, could have connections to Anakin as well. And then, of course, Jedi Anakin over there for Sith Eternal. Definitely a character that may have a case for that. Now, here's the existing requirements we've got, and I've got those showing up next to Kenobi as well. Oops, wrong web camera. Let's bring this one up, and we'll jump over here as we do these requirements here. So, obviously, out of the Kenobi requirements, there's also some characters that you could make a case for being paired with Anakin, most notably General Kenobi. I think pretty confidently he's not going to be included. I also feel like Mace, if he wasn't required for Kenobi, is one we would definitely speculate on. Because he was just required for this last GL pairing, I think all of the requirements you're seeing for Jedi Master Kenobi will not be included on the Lord Vader requirements. But I do think there might be one or two carryovers, and we will get to that. So let's get to our very first prediction, and I've got them highlighted in green. We've got Rex showing up here. I would take this one to the bank. I don't understand how we could possibly have Anakin and Kenobi come to this game as Galactic Legends and not have Rex be included in what they're doing there. I would just, that would just be absolutely shocking and borderline offensive to me if they did not include Rex. He has so much history with Anakin, akin to like if Cody was required for Kenobi, then Rex must be required for Anakin, for Lord Vader. That's one I would take the bank. Very high confidence interval on Rex. Now Ahsoka, pretty high confidence interval on this too. And we'll talk a little bit about Kat versus Ahsoka and if I think both will be required or not. I think that the Snips version is the most likely one. Kat is a little more variable, and the reason why is the Ahsoka Tano that we see in the Clone Wars, that is the iteration of Kat in the game, doesn't have as much interaction with Anakin. It's there and it's possible, but it might not be as solid of a connection as you might think. But then again, we've got characters like, if you look at Kenobi here, some pretty loose connection characters with Kenobi. They made a lot of stretches with Kenobi, I'd say, especially Wat Tambor. I feel like Grievous and Magna Guard, you got the connections there. And then you've got the Jedi, Ayla, not a ton of interaction with Kenobi that I remember at least. Shakti, kind of similar. And so maybe a stretch like that is something they will take. Game-wise, I think it makes a ton of sense. And I'm already talking about Kat. We'll talk a little bit more about here in a second. Spoiler alert, she's another one of my predictions. Maybe I should just skip ahead. But here we go. Echo showing up as well. And I'm going to move my camera over here. You guys have seen that graphic enough. Echo is part of that initial 4 Bad Batch. Now, I'll give you a spoiler right now. Omega, not on the list. Echo is. Why is that? Well, simply put, Lord Vader didn't really interact with Omega, like at all. Now, maybe that could come in the Bad Batch coming up, but that's pretty confidently Darth Vader at that point. And I really think that they're going to have all 4 of those Bad Batch in there, because when Anakin interacted with Hunter, Tech, and Wrecker, Echo was there as well for most of that as well. And Anakin obviously played a pretty, a notable role in that season and rescuing Echo and all of that. So I think pretty confidently Echo's going to be in there. Ki-Adi-Mundi. Now, this is a bit of a loose connection. Anakin obviously was connected to Ki-Adi-Mundi. We had Wat Tambor required for Kenobi. Seeing another Territory Battles character be required, I don't think is much of a stretch. This one makes sense. I wouldn't say I'm positive this one's going to happen, but I think that there's a pretty solid opportunity for them to include Ki-Adi-Mundi there. I wouldn't love it, and I think a lot of people would have problems with that, but I'm just making my best educated guess here, guys. So here's Kat. We talked a lot about Kat already. Game-wise, I think it's for sure. Lore-wise, I think it's a bit more of a stretch just because Lord Vader and Commander Ahsoka Tano didn't have as much time together. But again, we've seen way bigger stretches made with other galactic legends. The other question I have in my mind is, are we going to use 2 iterations of the same characters requirements, and why not? So I would say probably 75, 80% confident that Kat would be required. But I would also predict if they're not going to require Snips or Kat, it's Kat that they'll drop in lieu of Snips. I think it'll either be both of them or Kat won't be required. I'm very confident that Snips would be in there. It would be very, very weird to me if they did this without Snips. So, coming up next, we have got Darth Sidious. Now, the biggest argument I hear people making about why Sidious wouldn't be included is because he's already included for, obviously, Sith Eternal. And so, why are we going to carry over? We've seen carryover with GLs already. JTR is an example, required for both Rey and Jedi Master Kenobi. There's a strong connection between Sidious and Lord Vader. Sidious is who turned Lord Vader into what he was. Now, if we had Chancellor Palpatine in the game, that's who I would give this spot to. But Sidious is going to be the closest possible connection to Anakin that we've got for that specific part of his story. I really just don't see how this is going to happen without Sidious. I also think that in the event, there's a really high likelihood that we have an encounter with Sidious with Mace Windu present, maybe. And I would include Mace in the requirements for that because of that specific scene, which is just a huge moment for Anakin. But obviously, he was already included for Jedi Master Kenobi. Now, they could still require Mace. I don't think they will because they just did it, but maybe they will. Thus far, the only carryovers we've had have been not within pairings of GLs, but outside pairings. So, interesting food for thought. But Sidious, that one I'd almost take to the bank. All right, and then here are the last 2, and I am putting these guys together because the reason why I include Poggle the Lesser and Newt Gunray is because this iteration of Anakin, this specific version of Lord Vader, killed both of them on Mustafar. And you can see here, Newt, you'll remember, because he's begging for his life at the end. But look at this. Poggle the Lesser is right there. He's getting nuked, guys. Here comes Anakin, and he's going to nuke him. Of course, here at the end, you've got, at the end of this scene, there's Newt begging for his life before Anakin, gives him a little bit of mercy with a quick and swift death. So, anyway, I think that those 2 actually might be more likely than you think. And you will notice also I slipped in there the Malevolence as my ship prediction for Lord Vader. Now, it could be the Executor. I see a lot of people making that prediction. I'm going to say that's absolutely on the table. And maybe I think CG is going to be way nicer than they are. But if you just look at Anakin versus Kenobi, we've got 1, 2, 3, and if I'm right, 4 marquee characters, plus Ki-Adi-Mundi in there, if Ki-Adi-Mundi's in there as well. Those are some really steep requirements, not to mention Tusken Raider. Compare that with, over on the other side, with Jedi Master Kenobi. And what were the biggest stretches here? I mean, Bo-Katan was kind of a recent marquee character. We've got Wat Tambor in there, which might have been difficult. Almost everybody had Grievous. Magna Guard, part of that Grievous team. Cad Bane was a bit of a stretch. Cody, maybe. Shaak Ti, a lot of people already had their Shaak Tis. Clone Sergeant, a bit of a stretch. Yoda, everyone had Yoda. It was just a matter of Relic 8. A lot of people had Jango. So they were really pretty nice with Kenobi. They are already not being as nice with Anakin with what is already in the picture. I mean, all three of these Bad Batch characters, that's going to be tough. Tusken Raider, literally nobody has him farmed. Well, I'm sure there's somebody. I'm going to get corrected. Some content, I don't know. Did Urz do his Tuskens? Maybe he did. I don't know. And Padme and Gas are there. Obviously, you'd think that they a lot of people have them, but that's the Relic 8 as well. So I don't see them being a lot meaner. And if they did require the Executor, man, that's like a whole other box of, bag of worms, can of worms. Oh my gosh, that's the phrase. It's a little bit late as I'm recording this. That's a whole other can of worms to open up with all of those requirements. And so I could be wrong. I know maybe you guys are going to tell me that my faith in CG is too good, but I don't think they're going to be that mean. I'm not going to make any bets on it, though, because it is very much so on the table and something that they could do. I just think it's going to be the Malevolence. Another reason why I think the Malevolence makes sense is because Anakin literally had so many interactions with the Malevolence. Actually, a different ship by the time we got to Revenge of the Sith. But Grievous, his nemesis, Grievous was already required for Kenobi, so I think that's where it will be. Just my prediction. Now, I'm going to throw out another possibility here for this for these predictions. And R2-D2 is not an official prediction here, but I think there's a really solid chance R2-D2 could show up. A big reason for that is R2-D2 is right here on Mustafar with Anakin as he is with Lord Vader as he's going ham. So very involved in that moment. R2-D2 is. And so I do think there's a good chance he could show up. My biggest hesitation in including him is because I think Sidious is more likely because we've got to include that part of Anakin's journey, I think, for this iteration of Lord Vader. And having Sidious and R2-D2, both, characters that have already been required for GLs, might be a stretch, but maybe not. Maybe because they're including at least 3 marquee characters, probably 4 in my opinion. And I think good chance Ki-Adi-Mundi, maybe they'll be nice and include R2-D2 in lieu of Ki-Adi-Mundi, maybe in lieu of Cat, something like that. So anyway, that is my big fat list of requirements that I am predicting. Last time I did not do very good on my predictions, but in fairness, who predicted a lot of this stuff over here on the left? There's a lot of stuff here that was really not that predictable. Cad Bane would have never predicted that. Wat Tambor would have never predicted that. Jango made sense in hindsight, but it wasn't really on my radar. And so, am I going to get it totally wrong here again? Let me know what your predictions are, guys, down in the comments below. I hope you guys are having a great week. We've made it to Wednesday. It is hump day, ladies and gentlemen. Let's celebrate by dropping a like on the video. I can think of no better reason to celebrate than liking a Good Cubs fam video. Thank you so much for joining me, fam. I appreciate all that you guys do and allow me to be a content creator. It is the absolute joy of my life. I love making videos for you guys. Thank you so much, guys. And as always, my brothers, don't forget,